So for the last 25 years, we've been doing a lot of collecting. You can see I got B-52s, DC-7, PBY in there. But we also make furniture. For you guys who don't know MotoArt, we've been doing exhibits and furniture. So we've been collecting all sorts of different airframes over the last 25 years. Well, when I first started this company, no one making an airplane desk was just... So here we go, we got rows of ejection seats. You guys ever need a B-52 ejection seat? We got plenty of them. So when we first started this company, you know, again, I said making a wing desk was just, no one was doing it yet, right? We'd go up to the yard in Mojave and wait for people to go in and out of the gate and try to stop them and say, hey, we want to buy a wing. They literally would laugh at us. Now we have an acre of land up there, so we kind of finally got established. But when we started, so we're in Torrance, this is Mojave, and we'll flip through real quick some of the different stuff that we have in Mojave, lots of different airframes, burner cans, propellers. When I first started this company, again, no one knew who we were, and we had absolutely no money, right? And we still had our day jobs. We were sign guys, doing stuff for Disneyland, Universal Studios. And one day I was sitting there waiting for a crane to arrive, and I was reading a Maxim magazine. You guys remember Maxim back in the day? Well, back in the early days, I mean, it was the largest publication out there. It was before, you know, really the internet. So all these magazines were hungry for content. So I'm sitting there reading, and I'm like, wow, what do you bet these guys would really dig these propellers were doing? So I went and I took the top 5 editors of Maxim magazine, and I sent them all the exact same submittal, right? Hoping to create water cooler talk. Well, 2 weeks later, I get a call from the senior editor of Maxim magazine. He goes, wow, this is incredible. He goes, what else can you come up with? And, you know, we'd already think, I'm like, well, I can do a wing desk, and I can take a galley cart and make it in a bar, and on and on and on. He said, great, come to New York and bring all your stuff. We're going to give you a double-page spread in Maxim magazine. Well, you're talking about 2 guys working out of the garage, and that was huge to us. So we packed everything up, went to New York. Well, Maxim, they brought out all these models. It was during the day of Austin Powers. Remember that? They were playing the Austin Power music. Well, all these ladies were dancing on the furniture. And we thought we were going to be millionaires overnight, right? And little did we know, the average reader was 24 years old at Maxim. And we were making, you know, really high-end furniture. So, but what it did do, it opened up just a whirlwind of publicity, right? So, Men's Journal called, Architectural Digest called, and within the first year of business, we were published in over 50 magazines on our work. So we really learned the formula. Keep designing, keep designing, keep designing. The more we design, the more people were writing about us. Well, finally one day, we get a call, and it's Discovery Channel. Well, let me back up. We actually worked a little bit for it, but we were approached to do a scissor reel for Discovery, and we did it, and it sold within 3 days. So back, I'm not sure, 20 years ago, if you guys remember, but we had a show called Wing Nuts on Discovery Channel. And so we filmed for about 7 months, and we created 8 hours of material for the first season. And what it did basically was it followed us around in the different boneyards, and we would make get the pieces, make them, deliver them to the client. But there was always conflict. Someone's going through a divorce. We're all arguing. You know, it's a typical reality TV show. But what it did is it really put us on a map. At that point, now we were established. Unfortunately, it ended because my co-star, he was 39 years old. He had an aneurysm and died. He only got to see 2 of the episodes, and we immediately got canceled for the next season. So we basically, are you able to?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, well, go ahead. We're going to need to jump ahead. Let's go through the boneyard shots. Again, this is up in Mojave. Let's keep going. And real quick, and we'll talk about this. See this right there? That is the MLP, the Mobile Launch Platform from Cape Canaveral. They tore down the MLP, and you'll see some pictures of it later. And they literally cut off a section from us, shipped it to Mojave, where we cut up and we tagged it. So it'll be one of the things we talk about later. Go ahead and go next. More of our material, Mojave. Next. 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 Now we're in Torrance. This is our shop in Torrance. If you guys are ever in Los Angeles, I invite you to come back. It resembles a little bit of a museum. Go ahead next. Our entryway. The lights are burner cans. That's what ignites the fuel in the jet engine. Next. More of our office. It's a little bit like a museum now after all these years. Next, please. In my office, I got a staircase from a 747-100. You just don't find those too often. I actually have 2 of them. That was one I did for my office. Next. In the backyard. This is very typical now. What we do is we'll get in derelicts from all over the world and we'll break them down. And you see the baskets back there. Those are all future plane tags. As you guys all know, we are doing plane tags now. We're going to segue into that. Next. Here we are backing up. This is what I did before I started MotoArt. Next. This was the very last job I did before I started MotoArt. And I figured it was the high as I can go for being in the sign business. So after that, we started MotoArt. Next. And these were the original propeller sculptures that we were doing. That was my partner, Donovan. Unfortunately, he had some health issues, and I bought the company from him about 8 years ago. Next. Back in the day, this is back in 2001, this is Tucson. Well, back in the day, you could go down to National Aircraft in Tucson, and it was like, next, you could literally pick your part, like a junkyard, an auto junkyard, next. And they just had everything back there. And this is where we got all of our ejection seats, all of our propellers, all the F4 parts. Now, and they kept telling us the laws are changing, you're not going to get this material anymore. And this guy next just had mountains of stuff. And he kept telling me, Dave, this place is going to be a dirt lot in a year. And I didn't believe him, and kid you not, it's a dirt lot now. Nothing is coming out of Davis-Monthan anymore because of the Stop Arming Iran Act, where everything is off limits. Next. So Dom and I were doing anything we could back in the day to get noticed. This was at the Reno Air Races back in like 2002. We'd go to all the pilots and offer them drinks afterwards. Next.
T-34.
And this is what we looked like early age, just before Discovery Channel. Next. And there's that article, Max and Max. You can't tell, but I'm on the right-hand side, and I got a shit-eating grin thinking, next. But then there was the whole slew of publicity that kept coming in. Next. And then here we are, Wingnuts. This was the cast and crew of Wingnuts. The gentleman of the sunglasses, the gentleman who passed away. Next. But it basically followed us around to all the different boneyards. Next. Where we cut windows out, cut wings off. Next. This is up in Mojave, getting it into the aircraft. Next. Here we are working on a DC-8. Next. Boom, future conference table. Next. A way of getting galley carts out of the planes. Back then we didn't have any equipment. We would do everything we could to get material off the aircraft. Next. And of course, Tim Roberts, when he passed, that was one of the last photographs of him. Next. Now I'm going to take you down some of the different series that we do for MotoArt. When we designed something, we wanted to make sure we could make it a limited edition series. We weren't just going to do one. We knew, we chose the DC-9 desk because we knew all the DC-9s and all the MD-80s were coming off the line. So you make one, now you have all the patterns so you can continue to make them. It's still very expensive, right? For us to get out to Mojave or Roswell, wherever we go, you gotta get a crane, you gotta get the boom lift, you gotta get everything off, cut it, get it on the ground safely, ship it back to Torrance. Before you know it, you're into it for $2,000, you haven't picked up a tool yet. So everyone goes, oh my God, you're so expensive, but really the cost that goes into it, it's like you don't see that when you first look at it. Next. These are 2 cowlings, 747 cowlings sandwiched together. We made a few of these. This one went to a club in China. Next. Did beds. This is our 747 cowling bed. All mirror polished. Something like that sold for about $40,000. Next.
Why so much?
This is our biplane conference table. Next. This is a pretty one I'm proud of. This is what we call the Delta Wingman. We made the first one for Delta Airlines for the Delta One Club at LAX. They've since shipped it somewhere else. But what this is the T-tail off of MD-80, and the legs is the continuation of that stabilizer. Next. Landing gear door, made into a sink. That's off of KC-97.
That's so awesome.
Fuselage. We do a lot with fuselage. Look, it's the common denominator of all these planes being retired. We got lots of windows. So we do conference tables, we do fuselage, we do bookshelves. Next. This is a bar that we created. The bar stools are all F4 ejection seats, all mirror polished with red leather. The fuselage is all mirror polished. We put LEDs inside the windows. Next. This is an Albatross float tank, where the wing tank's off the Albatross. We're not taking anything, something like this. We know there's only so many of them. There's still Albatrosses going around. We get them, they have big holes in them. They're not useful anymore. So that's why we're able to purchase them. And luckily the big holes, we're going to be cutting it out anyhow. But all mirror polished. We have probably 90 hours of sanding and polishing in that. And that's why they're so expensive. It's the time that goes into the sanding and polishing. Anyone who's ever polished a plane knows how hard it is to get that mirror polished with the aluminum. Next. This is what we call the clamshell DC-8. I like the DC-8 cowlings because they have that teardrop shape to them. But this is a reception desk. What we're really known for, guys, is conference tables and reception desks. We found that was our market. That corporate was where we wanted to go because they were the ones who had the budget for it, versus trying to sell to a dentist in Minnesota. It was a big deal for him to buy a desk, and they're a little bit harder to work with because understandably they're paying $25,000, $30,000 for a desk. They want their handheld, they want to make sure it's walked in. And it was a little bit easier dealing with corporate because we go in and do like a whole office. Next. This is the C-133 Douglas pedal table. God, I wish I still had some more of those. Those were a good seller. Next. These we make a lot of. We probably made over 100 fuselage conference tables. If you guys are ever in an FBO or an office, you see one of these, chances are we made it. This looks like it's a Douglas fuselage, probably an MD-80. You can tell by the rivets in it. We have data ports coming out of it, half-inch glass.
Are the data ports also from a plane or?
No, they're just aftermarket data ports.
Are those LED lights inside?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
Awesome.
So what we do is we put perforated aluminum in it. We sand the plexiglass of the windows, and then we put LEDs in it.
That was fantastic.
Thank you. Next. The Boeing 707 wheel table, all mirror polished, the light in that, and it was a 707. Next. This actually made Ripley's, believe it or not, as the most unique conference table, and I was pretty proud of that. And we only made a handful of those, and there were a lot of work. But the diameter of that is 105 inches of just the cowling, so we were about a 10-foot diameter on that glass. The glass is done in 4 sections. And it is a very difficult piece to do the installation on. Next. This is a stabilizer that we use as kind of just an icon art piece for someone's office or home, I'm sorry. Next. Using economy seats, releathering them, putting them up against the windows. Another big seller, we did quite a few of those. A little bit more economical. This is a KC-97 fuel cradle. When inside the KC-97, the refueling plane, they had the big fuel tank sitting on top of these. So we were using them and making tables out of them. And the aileron coffee table, very simple. Next. These are also very beautiful. I'm not sure if you guys know the clothing brand Robert Graham, but they ordered about 25 of these for the store, so we were in production with these. These are the horizontal stabilizers again. We're using the T-tails off the MD-80s because they're thin, right? Anytime you got that T-tail, they got a real thin stabilizer. For desks, they're enough that you can get your legs up underneath them, and just a little bit easier to work with. And yeah, that's okay. This is Microsoft. We did the flight simulator for them. This was appeared at Oshkosh for a couple of years. 19 Entertainment, one of our first big clients. They are the ones that did American Idol, who created American Idol. So this is up at the Playboy building on Sunset Boulevard. They were looking for something to hide all the cubicles. This is one of the first fuselage pieces that we did. Next. This is a landing gear door that we recreated the American Idol logo for. Next. Again, here you see the float tank couch. Next. This is a project I'm very proud of. This is San Luis Obispo Airport. That's a 747 Cowling information booth. And this, at the same airport, is an art piece we did for them, and these are stabilizers off the G2, the Gulfstream. A light fixture we did for FedEx using the 747 Cowling. Red Bull, we worked for Red Bull for quite a while, following the Red Bull air races back in the day. These are trophies that we made for them. Here you go, the Delta wingmen I was talking about. This was at the Delta Club, or Delta One in LAX. Next. And we'll talk a little bit more, but we have really good relationships with Delta Airlines. It's one of our big supporters of what we're doing. So we'll see more here in the slide presentation. Next. These are the Delta clubs. They're starting to put pieces in the Delta clubs and also the sports arenas. This, I believe, is at JFK that we did for them. They actually wrapped it. We didn't do that. Spiker cars, one of our other clients that we have. That's cargo flooring off the C-124, and then the mirror polished fuselage in the back. This is a project we did for Boeing. This was a 787 simulator. And this was a kind of a fun project because we had all sorts of crazy designs for them. And this is what they chose. These are KC-97 cowlings, and they made a little flight simulator, and they toured with it as they were introducing the 787. Again, Robert Graham. Now we're going into client shots. We're going to see some of the shots that our clients are actually using. Next. This is that club in China I was talking about. These are fuselage doors that we created for the club. You can literally, they were so balanced you can move them with your fingers. These are light sconces that we did for them, made out of the C-119 cowlings. A bar, again with those F4 ejection bar stools. And now we're going to go into the conference tables, again, corporate. This was a DC-6 rudder. Next. There's that 747 cowling that we saw earlier. Next. This is a KC-97 rudder. This thing was gigantic. It was probably 22 feet long. Luckily we got it in the conference room. We had like a straight shot getting it in. C-130 flap. We have the inner and outer flaps. That looks like it's an inner flap, so that's about 5 foot wide by 12 feet in length. There's your fuselage conference table. Rudder off the C-119.
What is green?
Powder coated green. You know, we offer all sorts of crazy colors, and you know, we hate when a designer comes in and they want something beige, and we beg them not to do something beige.
Yeah.
So we always try to do wild colors. This one's done in like a black chrome and then mirror polished accents on it. Those are two ailerons put together. This was a beautiful project. We did this for a client in Las Vegas. It's a steerman wing, tapered steerman wing. This is a Grumman Albatross. This is in Paramount Studios, where we put two of the ailerons together to make the conference table. Again, another C-130 flap. There's your, what we call the bamboo steerman conference table for his online auction, Mike. So we created that for him. This is a project we did for Boeing. This is out of a Chinook, the flooring out of a Chinook that we took and made a conference table for Boeing. This is, now we're going to kind of go into some of the desk. This is a G2 wing. This is a doctor, and if you go to the next one, he wanted to go through the wall outside. Next. Again, this is this is Skydance Productions. They're in Hollywood, and that's a B-25 rudder made into a conference table. Here we got the DC-9 wing desk, but the coffee table, or F4 burner cans that we put red LED lights in, and that's a client in Malaysia. This is a miniature version of that conference table we saw, what we call the Stearman desk. And those are beautiful, but also very time consuming. Next. 747s. We learned something very valuable about a year ago. You know, we've been cherry picking these cowlings out in the hobby. You know, when we went there, they had all these cowlings sitting on the ground, and they made beautiful desks like this. And they were all aluminum. Mirror polishing took forever, but they were stunning when we got done with them. Then one day we came back, picked up a cowling, came back, cut into it. It's all composite.
Oh.
Because they all started moving composite, and what we realized is we were working for the 100s and 200s that had been sitting in the boneyard for all these years. Now all of a sudden we were getting composite. That's why that one you saw at San Luis Obispo Airport was all white. You know, we just kind of buffed it out. So the days of these all aluminum cowlings are almost gone. They're just so hard to find now. Next. Go ahead, next.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's that DC-8. Again, that teardrop shape to it. Very pretty, pretty piece with the B-52 ejection seat. This is on top of the Sears Tower, or formerly the Sears Tower, top floor, 747 cowling. And if you can see, we actually have to put connecting bands in these. See how we cut it, and we have to strap it so we can get them up in the elevator to reconnect in the office. Mark 84 bombs. We have a whole pile of bomb tails that we were actually doing in these little coffee tables. We've done lava lamps, we've done aquariums with them, but this has been the most popular. Just putting a piece of glass on it, and you have a perfect bar height table. Radial engine table. This is at NetJets in Ohio. This is what we call a fuselage bench. A little bit nicer than the other one you saw, and the whole base here is a leading edge off the wing. Very pretty piece. C-119 paratrooper door, and then we have the DC-3 Martini table behind it. That's at an aerospace company in California. Cowling coffee tables. That looks to be off of a G2 as well. And by the way, if you start to notice, there's a repeat happening, because what happens is we have access to certain aircraft. The C-119, the Albatross, you know, the F4 that came from National Aircraft in Tucson. Next. Beautiful reception area, that's in Colorado. Next. There you go again, the Albatross float tank counts with the F4. Next. Another pretty piece, this is the 747 cowling. Now there's actually two cowlings there, it takes two of those. So what we do is we're cutting the leading edges off of them, sandwiching together. This is, I think, up in Washington, up at SeaTac. This is, again, a fuselage point of purchase. This is actually, that was off an H-21B helicopter. And then back to propellers, what we know best. We have, literally, you guys want a propeller? We have hundreds of them. I bought a deal just a couple years ago. I'm not sure if you saw the Lockheed Connie propellers that we had in there, but the guy that we were buying them from got stingy with them, like 20 years ago. He goes, no more Connie propellers for you guys. We're like, oh my God, they're like our bestseller, right? Well, he called me like 3 years ago, and he goes, hey, you still in business? I'm like, yeah. He goes, you still want those Constellation propellers? I'm like, yeah. He goes, come talk to me. I'm selling my business. I went up there, and he had a shipping container with 300 Lockheed Connie blades in it. And he goes, it's an all or nothing deal. So I bought the whole container for like $25,000. And now I have my whole wall in my office all just like stacked up like little soldiers all the way around with these Lockheed Connie. So if you guys ever want a Lockheed Connie blade, I'm the guy to call. Next. This is Lockheed Connie. This is a ceiling fan that we did for a client in Miami. There you go. Next. Wall mount DC3 for an office. That was a beautiful piece. Next. Again, DC3 martini table. We call this the martini table. Basically what you have is a DC3 propeller, and that's a propeller gear dome as the base, and that was off of the C-130. But a very beautiful piece. We call it the martini table because it was kind of perfect for your martini glass. In the back, you've got the fuselage bookshelf with half-inch glass on it. Next. I'm going to end with the furniture on this because we're doing, as you guys know, PlaneTags is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We're working for all the major airlines now. We're literally going 24 hours a day with PlaneTags. So we're very selective on the furniture that we do. We took on this project for Charlotte Douglas Airport. Next. And this is our first 777 cowling information booth. And this thing is a monster. It's probably about 35% bigger than a 747. This is now their new information booth when you go to Charlotte Douglas. Next. This is a piece that we're working on right now in our shop. It's supposed to leave next month. That's a KLM 747 fuselage. And then of course the whole bamboo desktop to it. So you'll be seeing that soon in Charlotte. And next. This is one I'll leave you with the furniture. This is what we did for the new terminal at Charlotte Douglas. When you walk into it, you got a full-size MD-82 T-tail that you're going to be walking in. You're going to be able to get on it, take pictures, hold it, touch it. They want you to go up there and really experience being able to touch the aircraft. What's funny was, we got that, that's an American Airlines, right? Well, right above that is the new Delta Club. So, and they insisted on putting the tail number. So you see the tail number AA on it. And I had to go to my friends at Delta Airlines. I'm like, guys, I'm sorry, I didn't get to pick this. They wanted that. They wanted it to be kind of universal. They didn't want any favorism to Delta Airlines because it wasn't just Delta in that terminal. So yeah, this is going to be open up in November for everyone to go and take a look at. Now I'm going to go into PlaneTags and how PlaneTags started, because that's kind of really been the excitement. This was something I was working on a P-51 Mustang one day, and I'm like, God, I can't get rid of this skin, right? What do I do with this skin? Well, my logo is an oval. So I made this little oval tag, and it was from the P-51, and that sucker sat in my pocket for years and years. You can see all the paint wearing off of it. I kept going, one of these days, I'm going to do something with it. So for Christmas one year, next, I came out, But before I came out with it, I went to Delta Airlines. I said, guys, I got this idea for the PlaneTag, and I'm trying to convince them to do something. And they came back to me and they said, we love the PlaneTag, but can you do a gift card? And I'm like, yeah, I can do a gift card. So Delta Airlines contracted us for, I think, 2,500 gift cards. And it was a great order, but more importantly, I realized we had something, right? Delta bought into it. It might not have been a PlaneTag, but they were using the idea of taking the skin and making something out of it. So while we were doing that, I loaded up, and for Black Friday of that year, we came out with 6 PlaneTags, a DC-3, a B-25, a 747, next. And you'll see some of our earlier designs. That was like one of the first products that we came out with. And you guys ever seen that commercial where like all of a sudden you turn on the online store, it's like ding, 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 ding. Well, that's what happened with PlaneTags. They came out with the Black Friday, and we had built this big audience with everyone following the fanfare of MotoArt. So all of a sudden, but with MotoArt, everyone loved it, but no one could afford it. I couldn't even afford it, right? The PlaneTag made sense. It was a chance for everyone to own a piece of aviation history. Next. So the original designs, you see, were very bland. I was going to have this blue be commercial aircraft, the red was going to be vintage aircraft. Next. And the next one, this was going to be commemorative, stuff that was really special. And this one was special. The Collins Foundation, the 909 went through a hailstorm and they had to replace all the wing skins on it. And so we did a limited edition series of 3,200 tags. We gave them half, we took half and sold them. Well, I'm not sure if you guys know, but the 909 crashed a couple years later. So we took this one off the market. We gave all of our inventory back to the Collins Foundation, who handed out to family members and all that. Next. So far, we've done over 200 plane tag series. So what we're doing now is every 2 weeks, we're launching brand new plane tags. We're trying to make it so everyone's happy. We'll have helicopters, general aviation, commercial, military. Next. And more importantly, we're starting to have lots of partnerships with the airlines. If you guys have been by our exhibit, you notice I'm working with Delta, United, American, British Airways, Sun Country. We're finalizing our contracts with Southwest Airlines. We've got some goodies with Southwest right now that we're waiting to release. And also negotiating with several others. I can't really say who yet. Next. But this is the process. So this is a Delta MD-88 where we go out to the boneyard. And you can see they are derelicts. We are the last guys in. They part them out, they take everything out that's valuable. When we get to them, they're basically just aluminum tubes. Next. The guys go up there and you can see they literally start cutting the panels out of this section. Next. And what we're left with is basically an aluminum section that's usually about 7 inches by about 16 inches long. And we stamp them out, laser etch the schematic, put the tail number down, and then how many of that series that there is. And we're actually laser etching right into the color of the livery. There's one, this is at San Bernardino Airport. Anybody recognize the aircraft?
United.
United, that's right. It's the United 757. And basically we go to these aircraft and make them look like Swiss cheese. Next. And we also bid up, the guys haven't started done it yet, but see how they paint over the livery? It's the first thing they do. When they sell their planes, like this is no longer United plane. So what they'll do is they'll sell it to a company and they'll go in and they'll take all the parts out and have the aftermarket. And then, but we'll go and still take that blue and then we carefully remove the cover-up paint, exposing the old livery. Next. And there you go, there's United 757 plane tag. What's great about these partnerships with the airlines is we're giving back, and this is why it works. We're giving 13% back with every plane tag sold to the airlines. United We Care Fund, Delta Care Fund. All these airlines have charities that they donate, and they think this is a great idea. United Airlines and Delta Airlines, we've raised over $100,000 each so far, just in plane tag sales. Next. This is one of the oldie but goodies. Salvas, that's right. We found this in Tucson. It's been sitting down there forever, as you can see. It was just a cockpit. This is a livery that's almost impossible to find. I have no idea whether there's another one like this right now. So what we go next is we go and just cut everything out of it we can cut out of it. If you guys go by our booth, you'll see this is probably one of the more expensive ones because you can see how very little the color that we were able to get off of it. And our prices are based on you know, the color combination, where it's coming off aircraft, and really how rare it is. Next. Sun Country, one of our new partnerships as well. They were tickled pink to partner with us. They gave us this airplane in exchange for 500 plane tags. So that is the deal. So we went out there next, and we skinned it, made their 500 tags, and now, I'm not sure if you've been to Oshkosh or Sun Fun, but we're handing them out. We have like free sign-ups. If you sign up, we'll get you a Sun Country plane tag.
We're going to Oshkosh anyway, so good.
Yeah, you going to Oshkosh?
We're going to Oshkosh.
We will have the Sun Country giveaway.
Oh, that's fun.
Next. Go ahead. These are, I think this is WestJet. Have a couple Canadian birds, but you can see just how these guys are cutting the skins out. And everyone wants those combinations. It's funny, when we go and launch a new plane tag, it's always the first to sell, right? Because they want to be able to identify exactly where it came off the aircraft. Next. Here we're up on the vertical. You see how high it is? And there's your plane tag. Next. There's your Air Canada. Also here at the exhibit, you'll see that there's lots of composite. This is an Airbus A320. Well, that whole vertical, see all the black? Unlike a Boeing, where that's mostly aluminum, these are all composite. So we're seeing more and more composite aircraft, and we're just learning how to work with it. But you'll see some samples at the booth there. Next. Alaska Airlines. Alaska we partner with. We do their million-mile cards now. If you guys, any of you guys are million milers for Alaska Airlines, we make their tags for them. Next. And you can literally see there's your million milers right there that we do for them. Next. There's another US Airways. Next. Next. British Airways. Next. And I'm kind of hopping through this because I'm just kind of wanting to show you the process of going through it. Next. TWA. Guys, I have a couple red over there. That's all. That's all we had from that TWA. It's not like we had a lot. We found a little bit. That's of course the vertical. You can see how very little that we're dealing with some of these colors. Next. Atlas Air, we partnered with them. We did a nice program for corporate where we made them a couple thousand tags. Next. This is the MLP. I talked about this. So this is the mobile launch platform at Cape Canaveral. This was responsible for all the space shuttles. This is what Columbia launched off of. And the tail service mast is what's sticking up. That's really the last thing that touched that space shuttle before it took off. And that's what we literally cut off next. And this thing was massive. We're talking thick, steel blasted steel. Next. And we took the doors, and there's all of our parts, and off it went to Mojave. Next. And there it is. Now this is, we recreated, of course, the space shuttle on it, highlighting the tail service mast that it came off of. Well, we can't drill holes in these, they're too heavy. So we used a magnet. So that's stuck on there with a magnet. And they're varying thicknesses, from that thick to that thick. Next. Yeah, they're beautiful. We had some real classics. This one throughout, went out of there at Mach 3 speed. We came out with 2,500 SR-71 plane tags. It's one of our most requested plane tags. Still, we get emails every day asking for them. We had the stabilizer in the back, which was made of composite, that we cut up next. Another classic, Titan II missile. Pima Air and Space donated this to us, and we did a series of 1,000 tags, which we gave them a couple hundred. What's funny was, this again sold out within days, right? We came out with the Titan II missile, was a really must-have. Everyone was buying them. And then when we ran out, I said, call Pima. Pima's got 200 of them, right? Well, the phones blew up at Pima Air and Space. They called me and they said, get these fucking things out of here. Will you sell them for us? So they shipped it back to us and we sold it for them and of course donated all the money back to them. This is American Airlines, another great partnership that we have at MotoArt that's very valuable to us. The first project we did, when they retired the Mad Dogs, the MD-80s, they called us and they ordered 135,000 plane tags. And they gave a plane tag to every employee at American Airlines. So we went down and literally just went through 6 MD-80s, crowning them, getting all the material. I thought that was a cool photograph because it's perfectly balanced. You see that? There's nothing holding it up. And then the inside of what it looks like. And that was the one that we gave away. So yeah, if you guys got any American Airlines friends, there's a good chance to have one of those. I keep expecting to see them out on the tables one year here.
Yeah.
Right? And then on the back side, we've talked said which aircraft it was and the year of the retirement. We also do the concierge key cards for American Airlines. We've done this program for 5 years, where each year we highlight a different aircraft. We've done the MD-80s, 767s, we did a DC-10 for them. Right now we're on a hunt for a 747 American Airlines, which is almost impossible. I know Logistic Air has one, or, because they all got repainted, right? So we're trying to find the trail of where did they end up at, and it's almost impossible. The one I did find, they said next year we can cut into it, but so we might be doing a CRJ or something for them this year. Next. British Airways Centennial. This was a fun project. They sent us all the way to Spain to cut up their their 747. We did 50,000 cards for the British Airways. Next. And here we went out there, again, just cutting all the skins off, putting them in a crate, shipping them back to Los Angeles. Next. And that's what they look like.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
Next. Another great contract. I'm not sure you guys got your American Express card, but Delta Airlines, they've had 2 versions. The first version we did for them, go ahead next, is we went and cut it up and we did 1 plane for them. And they came out with 40,000 cards just about 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And they sold out within a couple weeks. By the time Delta even got the promotional out, they were sold out. So Delta had to pull back all the promotion for it. Next. But we go out there and literally just skin this whole 747. Next. And these are big aircraft. So what they did is they called us out and they ordered 3 more planes. And what we did, we have in the production right now, and that's the new one out, the white one. Did you get the white one or the black one? Who had one?
2 years ago.
You had 2 years. You had the black one, right?
Yeah.
Is the laminate coming off on it? Mine was.
That's holding up pretty well.
All right, but mine was starting to fall apart. What we do for American Express, it's not like they're just taking this straight, stamping it and putting it on a card. What we do is we cut the material, then we heat treat the material, and then we roll it out to where it's almost like aluminum foil. And then we send that to a company called CompuSecure. And I know there's other credit card companies out there, it's like metal cards. What they do is they overlay that onto a actual metal card, so the American Express card only has about 30% of the actual 747 in it. Next. And that's about what they look like when we're done, just a big plane of Swiss cheese. What's funny is some of these people actually don't destroy them afterwards. They think it looks cool in their boneyards. And we always get reports, people always see our work, our handiwork somewhere around the country or in a boneyard. Next. And there you go, that was the first series. So I begged, you ever see those American Express commercials? You know, my business on American Express, I begged to be part of it, but the only name on it is my name. So we didn't get too much recognition on our work. But again, then of course we did luggage tags for them. That is 100% pure 747. What I was going to say here, you see the shininess of the plane on that credit card? That's the true metal from the plane.
That's cool.
So you said they do or they don't do those anymore?
No, they're just finishing up, by the way. I just got an email, they told us to slow down production because we were shipping out panels and they said slow down. I think it was only just a kind of a seasonal thing.
I just wondered because I'm like, maybe I might exchange my old one for that one.
Right, you might wonder, but they're going to charge you for it. There's like probably like $500, I don't know what they do.
That's pretty cool though.
Yeah, those are the luggage tags that we did for them. They just ordered a bunch of those. This is another fun one, guys. This is the Delta Profit Sharing Program. This is a funny story I want to share with you. I just moved into the new shop. You know, we went from El Segundo to Torrance. I drained all my bank accounts making this move. But my girl and I, we had plans to go to Thailand. Her parents were coming to town to watch the kids. And it was Christmas Eve, or you know, we're leaving during Christmas, first week of January as we're about to leave. And I get an email from Delta Airlines, and it just says, hot. That was the subject title, hot. And I'm like, it called right away. So I called and they're like, hey, you think you can make a puzzle piece out of all these skins? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh, can it be interlocking? Yeah, right? And I don't know, right? I'm talking out of my ass right now, right? And they're like, can you make 92,500 of them in 6 weeks? And they had their annual profit sharing program in Atlanta. And what they did next, so they constantly, and here's the bad news. I had to go home and tell my girl that we weren't going to Thailand, right? And her parents still came out anyhow, but in a way they paid us handsomely for this project. And as you can see from that 747, it's not all one thickness. Next, you can see there's all sorts of thicknesses that come off that aircraft. It gets thicker around the wings, you know, thinner on the crown. Next. So here we are, putting them all together. It's kind of fun to see all the different colors. Next. And then putting them together. So this went to Atlanta. That's not our crew. We were just shipping them out there, and they had a crew out there putting them together. Originally, they wanted us to laser etch all of them. And there's no way we're going to do that in 6 weeks. It's just impossible. So next, what they did is they brought a muralist in who went and painted it.
Oh my gosh.
So they wanted every piece of the puzzle to represent an employee at Delta Airlines. And then next, there's Ed Bashan, of course, giving away. That was a little plaque. And when they took the puzzle apart, they made this and gave it to all the employees. Vintage and military. I know that's not the big seller here, but we have a big request for it. And I just wanted to show you some of the fun ones that we've done next. This is a Lockheed Connie that we found in New Jersey. This actually was a NASA Lockheed Connie. And we found it in a junkyard, just like that, sitting on a bunch of junk, and we had pulled it out next. And we cut it out next. And there you go, there's our C-121 Super Constellation from NASA. Next.
Was that in South Jersey, by the way?
Yeah.
I think I know where you got that
Yeah,
from.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
originally from New Jersey.
Yeah, there you go.
That's crazy.
A7, again, working with military, a little bit different than our commercial aircraft. Next. Next. There you go, you have a S2, I'm sorry, a P2, Neptune. Does anyone know Walter Saplata or the Saplata Yard? Does that ring a bell for anyone? This is worth a quick story. So this gentleman, Walter Saplata, he worked for the Cleveland Wrecking Yard back in the day, back in the 50s and 60s. And he would go out to the yard, and in the Cleveland Wrecking Yard, they were cutting up all these military planes. And he bought a B-25, he bought a Corsair, he bought a T-Beam Avenger. And he kept buying all these airplanes, and they'd go literally just cut the wings off, him and the kids, and they'd take them to his farm out by Dayton, and they reassemble them on his yard. So basically he had a whole collection of all these old airplanes. And he'd invite all the kids from the neighborhood, and they all come and climb on these airplanes. But they were a poor family, so he'd go buy like a B-25 for like $500, right? And they'd take it out there and reassemble it. He didn't even have a truck. And see, this is a bus. So he took a bus and cut the back of the bus off and made it a flatbed. And then he drove it to the yard, and there it sat. And then, you know, the old man Saplata passed away, and the children called us. And children are in their 70s. And they wanted to document certain aircraft. Well, of course, the XP-82 went out of there, the Corsair went out, the B-25, those were all being restored. We were left with kind of the remnants. No one's going to restore a P-2. Next. But there you go. Oh, that was the A7 that's outward. Next. There you go. There's the P-2 Neptune. This one actually flew Operation Deep Freeze at Antarctica. It had the skis built into it, so it spent its entire life up in Antarctica. Next. Working with museums. This one's being restored by the Mid-Atlantic Museum, the P-61. It's a great program that when we work with these museums, you know, they're restoring these aircraft. It's not like a car where you bond to a plane. All those aluminum skins got to come off, and they put new skins on them. So it's really kind of a win-win. We'll go in there and say, hey, they did exactly what I thought. They didn't get rid of these skins, right? They kept them. And so we'll say, hey, well, you know, we do a deal with them, and we give back to the museum to help the restoration. They give us skins to be able to document. Next. This is the flying crane. This is Igor Sikorsky's last project before he passed away. This is the S-60. I actually got an email from Igor Sikorsky Jr., his grandson, saying he remembers his grandfather putting him in that helicopter. They only made one of these. This was the prototype. And what happened is I went to the New England Museum, and they had a big tornado like 20 years ago that ripped right through the museum and completely broke it apart. And then it went down to the Connecticut Air and Space, where they're restoring it now. Same situation. They gave a skin off at the tag. We gave back to the museum. Next. Japanese Zero. I mean, how cool is that? I couldn't believe I got the phone call. They're doing a full restoration up in Washington on a couple they pulled out in New Guinea. This is one of two that possibly shot down Louis Zamperini. A guy named John Sterling pulled these out of off the beach. He traded a John Deere tractor for it, and he got the. And basically, look. So I went to Washington. They called me and said, "You want to tag it?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, yeah!" So I got on a plane and went out there. And they opened up the warehouse, and there it was all laying on the ground. And really, when they restore it, 90% of it's not real. You know, they're just using what parts they could off of it, and then they're taking the serial number. So there, they basically just gave us this Japanese Zero. They couldn't do anything with it. So I was just on cloud nine. That's obviously one of our really high-end ones. We have some pieces here, but very cool, very historic. Next. This is a cool one because it was this year. I was in Miami for New Year's, Christmas break, and I got a call, hey, how about a AN-24 Cubana? We have one down at Key West, but here's the deal. You gotta get in there now because we're destroying it. I'm like, now when? Like now, like next week. So I called my crew during Christmas break. I said, hey guys, get on a plane, meet me in Miami, we're going to drive down to Key West. So January 2nd next, we went down to Key West and we skinned it. And the airport participated with us. We actually made 200 tags for the airport. We have the Key West International Airport logo on the backside next. This was kind of a fun plane because this one was hijacked. Back in 2003, someone left Cuba and he had 2 wooden grenades. And he got on the plane with his family and demanded to be landed in Key West. So it sat in that spot for 20 years. And of course they pulled it off the runway and they parked it there. So finally they got rid of it and we were called in to preserve it. Kind of another fun story. There you go, there's your cabana. And look, we put the little map that he wanted.
Huh.
Yeah, that's good.
This was a great one we tagged last year. This is the last authentic paint scheme Pan Am out there. And then also, you can see the capital air behind that. We got that one too. And so we went out there and you know, paid dearly for this. This was not a free one, but we knew we had to have it. Next. And of course, we took a videographer. We videotaped everything. Next.
Where was that?
Smyrna Airport. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Outside of Nashville.
Oh.
Yeah.
Smyrna.
Smyrna. Yeah. Thank you. Next. Crown it. You know, we used the fuselage for racks for collectors. We sold all the windows. We cut the windows out. Next. And then there's the Pan Am piece. We actually have that in my backyard in Torrance right now.
Nice.
But Charlotte Douglas is wanting it badly, so I think we're going to go ahead and send it to Charlotte Douglas if we can come to an agreement on a price. But that's it. And I keep telling everyone, that Pan Am blue you guys are all passing, that's it, guys. I mean, I don't know what other Pan Am blue is out there. Authentic, true Pan Am blue. Next. Museums, we're getting close to the end here. Go ahead, next. Something I'm pretty proud of, the Smithsonian Air and Space. They're one of our biggest dealers. Last year they sold over $100,000 in plane tags.
Oh my goodness.
Pima Air and Space next. They have a big display. Scott there, one of our big supporters, as I told you, he gave us that Titan II missile. He gave us some P-38 skins that sold out immediately. He thinks it's bonkers what we're doing, but they're advocates because it's educational. I mean, what kid knows what a P-51 Mustang is anymore, right? And when we go to these air shows, like Oshkosh Center Fun, it's so fun to see these kids, like, I got a P-51, I got a P-51. They can't, like, who knows what a P-51 is? Next. And even smaller, that's Palm Springs Air Museum. I think we have now about a dozen museums selling plane tags, so we're just continually growing. Looking ahead, right now, this is what's on the line. We have 2 A380s with Qantas Airlines coming down. We weren't supposed to get these until next year. Hold for a second. But what happened is Victorville Airport said, look, they're too tall. They're interfering with the flight line. You got to cut the tails off. So my vendor said, look, I have to cut the tails off of these. Why don't you come get material? And so we went and we did both of them. We did this one and we did a silver roux, which is next to it, where we just basically took all the material off the tail, which, by the way, is plenty of material. And we'll get 10,000 tags off each one of those. But it's all composites. So right now we're trying to work with the powers that be to make this a licensed product. Next. You know, this is, and there's the second one behind it. Very, very large aircraft. But not as large as the next one. Boom. We got called up last month to Travis Air Force Base. This is our next release, by the way. This is coming out in 2 weeks. They use the cockpit and then the rear door for training purposes. They cut the T-tail off. It's going to be the new monument at Travis Air Force Base. Next.
And a quick question, and then like things like the engines and everything, is that a separate, for tables and things like that, is that a separate deal that you have to make, we have to make with these people?
Yeah, well, they actually offered me the calendar.
That's it.
You know, I got enough going on. Plane tags, guys, we're going 24 hours a day on plane tags. It's not so much the collectibles that we're selling, it's the big contracts we get with like Southwest and Delta and American. They come in, they order by the tens of thousands, and that's what really keeps us busy. But there you go, there's the C5 cut open. This is, we're looking at the tail. What's interesting is all the seats up top, they're backwards, right? They're facing the tail section. And I've never seen that before, and I realized they do that because it's more safe. And they flip them around on commercial aircraft because they don't want everyone to be paranoid, you know, flying backwards. But next, there you go. tore into the C5, making it look like Swiss cheese, and that's what you'll be seeing then in a couple weeks. It will be licensed by Lockheed Martin. The artwork, we have it flying over the Golden Gate Bridge because it's up at Travis. Here's one that we got coming up in August. This is the C-141 for NASA. That's the, I keep saying observatory, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not satellite, but they put the big telescope in it. Next.
Oh yeah, observatory.
Yeah. So we'll start on that in August. Of course, first thing we'll do, I mean, I love the T-tail on it. It almost looks like a hummingbird, so we're going to try to see if we can't get that off and try to save it. We'll cut the NASA out like I did that Pan Am, and of course we'll go for the blue. But this will be one. This is a C-141. And what was amazing about this, and by the way, I bought this whole plane. That whole plane is mine. I paid $34,000 for that plane, and I had to get it out. But what was amazing, but I sold the cockpit to Pima Air and Space for 20, so I'm only in it. But what was amazing was this cockpit was in pristine condition. It was like opening up a time capsule. You know, when I would open it up and got into it, and all the gauges, the smell, it was just amazing. So I called Scott at Pima, and he goes, "Hey, we'll take it." You know, so we're going to just slice it like a slice of bread. He's going to send a truck in. We're going to send it down to Pima Aerospace for an exhibit. And I leave you with this. This is a funny one because the debates were last night. But that's Donald Trump's Boeing 727.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's it, guys.
Nice.